As someone who has advised hundreds of homeowners on air conditioning and installed over 300 systems across London and Hertfordshire, I want to explain how you could cool your entire house with just 2 air conditioning units, what makes that possible, and where this type of setup starts to have limitations. Section 1. Your house works as one space. When homeowners first think about air conditioning, they usually divide the house into individual rooms. We look at how the property works as a whole. Heat moves through staircases, hallways, and open doorways all day long. That means your air conditioning shouldn't just be designed around floor plans, it should be designed around airflow. I recommend thinking about how air moves around your home before deciding where any indoor units should go. Section 2. Why 2 units can go further than you'd expect. A layout we recommend regularly is 1 unit downstairs in the main living space and another upstairs on the landing. That might sound too simple, but those 2 locations are often doing the most work. The downstairs unit removes heat where your family spends most of the day. Meanwhile, the upstairs landing naturally becomes the collection point for warm air rising through the house. By continuously removing that heat, the upstairs unit helps lower the temperature across the first floor instead of focusing on just one bedroom. When internal doors are open, cooled air can move much more freely, allowing several rooms to benefit from the same system. Section 3. This isn't about making every room ice cold. One mistake people make is expecting every room to feel exactly the same. That's not really the point of this type of setup. The aim is to make the whole house noticeably more comfortable. You shouldn't walk from one room that's freezing into another that's unbearably hot. Instead, you're trying to take the edge off the heat across the property and create a much more comfortable environment overall. Many homeowners find that setting the system around 21 or 22 degrees gives them exactly that. I recommend aiming for consistent comfort rather than chasing the coldest possible temperature. Section 4. Will this work in every home? Not always. If every bedroom door stays closed all day, airflow becomes much more limited. If your home has several separate living areas or an unusual layout, you may need a different solution. And if different family members spend all day in separate rooms, it's important to design around those habits. That's why every recommendation should be based on how you actually live, not just on the size of the property. The best systems are personalized, not copied from someone else's house. Section 5. There's one big downside: heating. There's one important limitation to the 2-unit approach that I think homeowners need to understand. It's much better suited to cooling than it is to heating an entire house. And that's becoming more important as more UK homeowners start looking at heat pumps and using air conditioning systems for both cooling and heating. With cooling, placing a unit on the upstairs landing works well because warm air naturally rises towards it, while the cooler air can spread through open doorways. Heating is different. If you're trying to use those same 2 units as the main source of heat for the whole property, getting warm air evenly into separate bedrooms and closed-off areas becomes much harder. You could end up with a very warm landing while individual bedrooms still aren't at the temperature you want. And downstairs, 1 unit in the main living area may keep that space comfortable without properly heating every separate room around it. So if cooling is your main priority, the 2-unit approach can make a lot of sense. But if your long-term plan is to use air-to-air heat pumps for a significant amount of your heating as well, I would recommend a more segregated design. That could mean separate units covering individual bedrooms or groups of rooms, so you have much better control over the temperature in each part of the house. Cooling can work extremely well with an open shared approach. Heating generally benefits much more from room-by-room control. That's something I recommend deciding before the installation, because it can completely change what the best system looks like. Section 6, what homeowners usually tell us afterwards. One thing I always find interesting is what homeowners say a few weeks after their system has been installed. Very rarely do they tell us, I wish we'd fitted another indoor unit. Instead, they usually say they didn't expect the whole house to feel so much more comfortable. The upstairs no longer feel stuffy at the end of the day. Bedrooms become much more pleasant by bedtime, even without having a unit on every wall. And the house doesn't seem to hold on to the day's heat for hours after the sun goes down. That's the difference good system design makes. When the units are positioned properly, you're improving the overall feel of the home, not just cooling the rooms where the indoor units are installed. Section 7, the design matters more than the number of units. If there's one thing I'd like you to take away from this video, it's this. Don't start by asking how many air conditioning units you need. Start by asking what you actually want the system to achieve. If it's mainly about keeping the house comfortable through summer, 2 strategically positioned units may be more than enough. If you also want the system to become a major part of how you heat the house in winter, the design may need to look completely different. A good installer should consider how heat moves through the property, where your family spends most of their time, whether doors are normally open or closed, and whether you're designing primarily for cooling, heating, or both. That's what determines whether 2 units are enough or whether your home genuinely needs a more segregated system. If you're thinking about installing air conditioning, tap the link in the description now to arrange a high-quality air conditioning quote. We'll assess your home, understand whether you want cooling, heating, or both, and recommend a system that's efficient, practical, and designed around the way your family actually lives. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.